Choo, choo, choo.
Look at you go, Tim. Look at you. You're wearing a Spider-Man outfit, aren't you?
I'm casting my web.
Well, happy Halloween, Tim Moss.
Woo! Happy Halloween to you too, Wendy Stuart.
I am feeling very witchy today.
Yes. Well, witchy's better than bitchy, I guess. So.
That's, yeah. Or you know what? They are interchangeable. We know that. I actually rode my broomstick to Pangea today, where we are broadcasting live. So while you were spinning your web,
yes.
I was on my broomstick coming down 2nd Avenue. And let me tell you, people, the bikes out there will mow you down, whether you're on a broomstick
right.
or walking. It's crazy, right, Tim? It's like Blade Runner.
Yeah.
It's
yes,
pretty
much.
Blade Runner.
Oh, well, I'm indoors. This is hot. So
okay, yeah, I figured you were sweating up a storm.
I feel like an anti-vaxxer. I'm taking this sucker off.
Get rid of that mask. And hello, Joe Preston just popped on. So how was your week, Tim?
Oh my God, it was wonderful. It was great. Yeah.
Great
I'm back to performing. I did a show last Saturday with Erdy, which is the Improvisational Repertory Theater Ensemble. And I'm the musical guest in their show, The Marvelous Mrs. McCluskey.
Oh, I love it.
And I'm their musical guest again this Friday. So
very, very cool. And where is the venue, Tim? Tell us about the
Producers Club on 44th.
Very
44th
cool.
and 9th Avenue. Yeah. Very fun time.
Very fun and wonderful to be back out performing. Well, because it's Halloween, I went on a ghost tour. I did. It was so spooky in Port Jervis, New York, with a bunch of my friends, which Port Jervis, New York is a lot of things happened there in the late 1800s. Let me just tell you that a lot of the buildings used to be brothels. So, you know, there were gambling debts that people were dying over and women that were falling downstairs. And that place was so haunted. The ghost tour was outside, and we listened to the person that was leading our group tell us the stories. But there was one building called the Hockenberry House that they wouldn't let us in. I was told if I get in touch with a realtor, I might have a chance of getting in if I act like I'm interested in buying the building. Oh my God, I would stoop to that. Yes, I would. Because that one is really haunted. And that place up on the top floor, not only were there suicides, you know, all the real good stuff that happened back in those days that created those, but they also had the writing on the wall of how much the services and the brothels were.
Oh, wow.
Like 25 cents or 50 cents.
Oddly enough, my prices haven't went up from that.
Oh, God. Wow. You are giving it away for free. But I digress. So today's guest, my God, I have to talk about the feathers on my hat in regard to today's guest, because this amazing woman makes me think of feather dusters. She does.
Yes.
She has written a book called Nothing to Clean. Listen to Pauline. And she shows you how to do a weekly cleaning in 3 hours or less. Please, without further ado, let's give a warm applause to Pauline Irene Stacey.
Yay.
Hi, everybody.
Hi.
Thank you for being here with us today, Pauline.
Listening to you guys in the background, I was dying.
The whole show is like that.
Our webs, witches, and bordellos.
Prices haven't gone up.
We like to talk about the real stuff in life, and super excited to have you on because when I was first introduced to the you that is Pauline, I was told that you're like a cleaning expert. And who out there couldn't use a cleaning expert? I mean, come on, Pauline, especially those of us in New York, our apartments. I mean, our producer Chauncey just moved. He still hasn't opened up his boxes. All right. My costume closet. I couldn't even get a good costume together for today because I can't get to my costumes and it's Halloween. So you know what? Let's just start up front, Pauline. What is the psychology behind why we don't clean?
So let me start off by saying that when I wrote the book is, when I discovered the system, I just had to share it with everybody. I could not hold it in because I know that there are millions and millions and millions of people out there and the shoes that I was wearing at the time.
That were dirty.
Yeah. And as time went on, I realized, you know what? Everybody has to clean. I mean, unless you're living in a cardboard box, right? We all have to clean. So it's a No Time to Clean. Listen to Pauline. It's a book about a system that will make a huge difference in people's lives. And it's interesting that was your first question, because the interesting part about the book, there's two parts to it. The book is, the first part of the book doesn't talk about cleaning. It doesn't. So you wouldn't, Melissa, it was like, wait, I got a book for cleaning and she doesn't even talk about cleaning till chapter 6. But it addresses your questions, Wendy. Why do we hate cleaning? And believe it or not, guess what the name is of my first chapter? Why do we hate cleaning?
Why do we That's so funny, and I haven't even gotten to read your book yet. Oh my God.
So yeah, so you can see how I can relate to what the pains are of everybody. And that's why when I figured out how to get over all of this, I just had to share it. Cleaning is a topic that no one has ever taught us, right? No one, I mean, your parents didn't teach you how to clean. Their parents didn't teach them. And even if you took, like, let's say a home ec class in high school or something like that, doesn't even discuss cleaning, right?
Right.
Exactly. And so
why do you think they just assume, like, this is a very good point that you're bringing out. It's not dealt with. It's like the elephant in the room.
Yeah, I know, right?
How do you think that is?
There's no cleaning education. Right.
Exactly. And so we're going back to the beginning of the book, and I will address your question, I promise. Because the first part of the book does discuss that and a couple of other of the psychology of it, right? And how I came up with the system. But in addition to that, why I got excited about sharing this with the world, and I will talk to you about the timing of it, because the book was written 33 years ago. It was 33 years ago this book was written. And so, but I thought about how many people, don't be afraid to raise your hand, out there feel guilty about the house not being clean or not having enough time to clean it, right? I mean, isn't that pretty much all of us? So this book takes you to a guilt-free zone where this system will help save you time, money, energy, stress, right? And most of all, give you a peace of mind, because isn't that what we all are longing for, especially today?
It's peace of mind, but it's also accomplishment. When I get a task done in the house, I actually feel like I've accomplished something.
You're giving me the goosebumps, because that happens to all of us, Wendy. It really, really does. And, you know, according to the American Cleaning Institute, they say that 34% of Americans are concerned that they haven't cleaned enough, and 31% of Americans are concerned that they haven't cleaned correctly. So in No Time to Clean, listen to Pauline, I teach you how to stop thinking about cleaning. Can you imagine if you stop thinking about it? I know people are like, there's no way, this is not going to happen. Let me show you the other interesting part, okay? This is the book. You see how thin it is?
Wow.
This is it. It is really and truly a how-to manual. And there's no fluff in it. There's no stories. And here's the whole point, right? People are buying the book because they want it. I say, take back your weekends, right? If you can clean your house in a couple of hours, let's say you pick Saturday morning at 9 o'clock. Let's just use that as a generic time, right? And I say, reclaim your weekends. The whole point is that everybody's feeling like, I don't have time. I don't have time. Forget cleaning. I don't have time for anything, right? So I thought, you know, if I just get straight to the point, it will make people, it's easy to understand. And today we need easy. Yeah. You just need easy, right? Like, just tell me what to do. I don't want to hear about why. Just tell me what to do. So that's what the book does. So going back to chapter 1, let's start with that, because it's the crux of the whole situation. We hate it, right? So let's start with that. So for most people, I can speak on the woman's side because I'm one of them. But we, you know, okay, it's time to clean. It's the unspoken rule. The woman in the house is the one that's cleaning, right? And so what do we do, Wendy, right? We put on our old T-shirt, crappy jeans,
Oh,
We take
no, that would be too depressing. I get all dressed up the way I normally look.
Oh, good. You're going to love this part.
Fully made up with nice shoes. The only thing extra, I put on the rubber gloves because I have really bad nails and I'm trying to keep them nice. So my only addition to my outfit is rubber gloves, and even those aren't plain, Pauline. They're the ones you can order online that have like flowers.
Yeah,
I love it. I love it. So Wendy, you could have wrote the first chapter because that's what most women do. Pull your hair back in a ponytail, no makeup. And so let's just start with that. So how are you?
That's approaching it as a chore.
Yeah. And how are you feeling?
Tim, that's kind of and that's kind of
Yeah. How are you feeling about yourself? Right off the bat. So that's right off the bat, right? Now I brought a couple props for you guys. Right? So,
okay. We love props.
Here's the other one. What kind of rags, right? Just the word. Doesn't that just sound like I don't want to do anything with the word rags? Right? So I teach people, okay, that is a no word. We have removed that word from our language, and we use what I call cleaning cloths. Now, remember you see the colors?
Yes.
All the different colors, the pink, the yellow, right? These are microfiber cleaning cloths. And the irony in this is I used the word cleaning cloths when I wrote the book 33 years ago, when the whole world was still using the word rags. Today, you can go on Amazon, Walmart, you can go anywhere, and they are called microfiber cleaning cloths.
They are. And
so
they coordinate with my clothes.
Right off the bat.
You coordinate, that you approach this task as positive.
Yeah.
Exactly. So going back to what you were talking about, how to dress, this is the advice I give everybody, male, female, it doesn't matter. I tell them that dress as if you knew that, let's say you were going to be surprised by an old college buddy. They're in town, they don't tell you, and you're smack in the middle of cleaning, and they knock on the door and say, hey, let's go to lunch. That's the way you should be dressed, where you already hit it, Wendy. I told you. I think you read.
My God, I'm like so on it.
You just take your gloves off. Literally, you just have to take your gloves off, wash your hands, grab your purse, your wallet, and hit the deck. You know what I'm saying? Like, so right off the bat with those kinds of concepts, it's not as bad as it doesn't feel so bad anymore, right?
Right. The initial approach has completely changed. Yeah.
Right. Because you turned it into a positive experience where you feel good about, right? What makes us feel good, male or female? When you feel like you're together, when you yourself feel good about your person, and dressing is obviously one of the ways you can achieve that.
Absolutely. And so what do you guys think the third really big subject would be to make you feel good about doing a job you don't normally like? Music. Music.
Oh, yeah, I always have music
definitely
on.
So in the book, I tell people, right, jam. Put it as loud as you want and just jam. And if anybody has any complaints, here's what you tell them. The next time you do the weekly house cleaning, you can jam your favorite music nice and loud.
Right.
So there you go.
Can use headphones so nobody else has to suffer.
No. That would make it too easy for them, Wendy. No, don't use headphones.
So you're going to have... No, I love the psychology, Pauline. So you're going to blast it out in your house and make your family and all the people that are causing the mess feel guilty.
Exactly.
That music has to be resonating in every room that they're cleaning.
100%. And you know what's even better? If you've got kids, you know, like it doesn't even so much kids, it's just generational music, right? So if you're listening to 50s bebop stuff, you know, and you get teenagers in the house and be like, oh my God, stop. So you can see between those three things, right, how it just changes. So what kind of materials you're using, how you feel about yourself, how you're dressed, and then the music. Because music, think about it. It's medicine, right? Whether you're in a traffic jam or anything negative, if you had a bad day and you listen to something you love, it completely changes your chemistry, right?
Your perspective, absolutely.
And time goes by fast. And again, right, this is all about reclaiming our time, taking back our weekends, right? Getting this done as fast as we can. So, that was a great question. And yeah, that was all.
I have another thought. You, when we started, said you wrote the book 33 years ago. I'm going to fast forward to the internet, okay, when it came about. And now I'm going to put the cherry on the cake, which is social media. So many of us, I know myself and Tim, we have to use it for our work. It's not even
Yes.
just getting in touch with our friends, although it's
Yeah.
a terrific social tool. But you know what? The 3 hours that I should be spending on the house, I'm on Facebook or Instagram or Twitter or LinkedIn or whatever, especially when your work depends on it. So that's taken up that time slot. Do you have any tips for people on to how they can limit themselves on social media and maybe use
or should we set a specific day and specific time aside?
So these are like the best questions, because this is also addressed in the book. Okay, we're all different. So
Right.
yes, Pauline wrote a book. I teach you how to get in the right frame of mind. I teach you how to use a system. I teach you how to enjoy yourself where you're doing something before where you use the word hate. We don't use that word anymore, right? After you read the book, you won't say that anymore. But the bottom line is that it's about you, the reader. I actually even dedicated the book to the reader. Most people dedicate it to, my teacher, my husband, my wife, my kids, blah, 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 whatever. My book is dedicated to the reader because I wrote the book for you, the reader. It's about you. So yes, I introduce you to a lot of really good concepts, and I introduce you to a flawless system that is smooth and doesn't take a lot of time.
Mm-hmm.
But I keep referring back to you, the reader, right? Do what feels good for you.
Right.
So I'm introducing you to a concept that you can take and mold it for yourself. Okay. So it is about you. So going back to your question again, I had a host one time ask me or say to me, well, can you just tell me real quick on how to do this thing in 3 hours or less? Because I don't have time to read the book. And I didn't think about showing her how little the book was.
Right.
But I should have said was, well, read the book because you'll have all kinds of time. Because she's like, I don't have time to read your book, right?
Oh, right. That is a catch-22, Pauline, when you think about it.
Yeah. So here's the thing. Let me just tell you, I never timed it. So I'm kind of guessing. Maybe I should time it for my next interview. But I think that if you read the book, if you just opened it and read it, and not slowly, not for content to remember things, right? But just read it, I think you could do that in about 40 minutes.
Wow.
Okay. Let me tell you something else that's beautiful about the book.
Wait, how big is the print? I have a question.
It's good size.
Oh,
I
good.
don't
We
know
love
if you can.
Yeah, that's good.
It's a good size. Yeah. Yeah, I don't like that little itty bitty. Yeah. All of our ages are
I
showing.
don't like the little itty bitty either.
I just like it's simple.
But here's the beauty. You're going to love this part, because you know what I did? At the end of the book, it tells you to go to the website, PaulineIreneStacey.com. And on there, you can go and print out, when you get to chapter 6 is where you actually get the instruction. This is where you start. This is what you do first. This is what you do second, blah, 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 right? What I decided to do was, I'm like, no one's going to want to carry a book around the house and to learn how to, when you're first starting to learn the system, right? How to clean the house. So I printed out, Wendy, it's this big, the print.
I love it.
I printed out outlines. It's just outline. So
Stick
you
it on the refrigerator and look at it. Love it.
No. What you do is you print them out, you take them, and each one is for each different step. So you just stick them in your bucket, in the cleaning bucket. So whatever step you're on, you can just follow through, and they're printer friendly. As I mentioned earlier, I'm an environmentalist, so I like to save ink and paper and all that stuff. So if anybody prints them, there's no pretty pictures or whatever. It's just the instructions, right? Mm-hmm. And you can take those with you and just read through those. Those are nice and big. That printout's big. There's a method to my madness, right?
No, it's making, everything you're saying is making total sense. I keep going back to me when we talk. Okay. I have a particular problem, and it started really bad during the pandemic. My husband makes a mess. He's sitting right here. He does the lighting for the show, but he makes a mess. There's a room that he paints in that I cannot even go in. As a matter of fact, it's so bad, I think I'm going to have to hire somebody to come in and help me with that. And my problem is twofold. My daughter moved back home during the pandemic. And I know you're laughing. My poor me, right? Her room is like, oh my God. So I have 2 rooms in my house that are so bad, I don't even bother cleaning them. Why bother? You can't get in there.
Yeah. So I can help you out with this to the point
Thank
where
you.
you might not even have to hire somebody, because
I throw them all out.
even
Bye.
without hurting anybody's feelings, right? Even though the book is about a weekly house cleaning system, a lot of people are going to start off with a mess. So let me back up a little bit, because where I'm going to start from is going to take you to help you with your issues. So another reason why people hate cleaning is because of how much time it takes. People say it takes so much time to clean. Okay. So, which is kind of one of the reasons why the book came out, Time to Clean, called Listen to Pauline, is because of the fact that people are mixing chores. So remember when we first started talking and we were saying, like, okay, when you're cleaning, you have a lot of time to think. Right? That's what happens, right? It's kind of mindless time. And so you're just thinking, and that's kind of why the music helps, because it stops you from doing all that, that empty thinking stuff, and it makes time go by faster. But when I was cleaning houses to go to school full time, that's how cleaning houses was how I put myself through school as a single parent with my daughter. But I was thinking about one time I was studying business management, and I had a class on production, I forgot what it was called, but anyway. And I think this study was done, if I remember correctly, it was like Ford Motor Company or something. And they had conveyor belts. And they did a study on parts that were coming down the belt. And each person would do like 3 or 4 things, whatever it was, right? A few things to a part before it went down to the next person and blah, blah, blah. Then they compared that to each person doing one thing at a time to each part. The production was way, way, way more
really interesting
than doing a few things at the same time.
Right.
And all of this just, this all was a process for me, right? Coming up with these ideas and these concepts. So I realized, wait a minute, if that works, why can't that work for everything? And then it dawned on me that when people say I have to clean the house, let me paint a scenario. In the back of your head, ask yourself, gee, do I know somebody like this? Let's say let's go back to the generic 9 o'clock Saturday morning cleaning time. You walk in the kitchen and you start with the dishes. So you're washing the dishes and you see something on the counter that you're like, oh, what is this doing here? Oh, this belongs in the bathroom. So you walk clear across the house into the bathroom. You open the drawer where that thing's supposed to go. And the drawers, wow, this is a mess. Yeah. And you start cleaning
so guilty. I'm so guilty of this.
The distractions.
Just focus. It's just
so
focus.
Yeah, and I see Tim doing this with his finger, and that's our human body.
Here, and then it goes over here, and then you're over here, and then you're up there, and then over here. Yes.
So I knew you could relate to this, right? It happens to a couple people, right? And so then you say, it takes so long to clean, and I'm like, that's because you're not cleaning. You're doing dishes, you're doing laundry, you're organizing, you're putting the toys away, you're putting the clothes away, right? You're doing everything but cleaning, okay? Yeah. So one of the things that is going to help this issue is separate the chores, okay? Now, I break that down even further. So what we do is I tell people, look, if you want to organize and do the dishes and the laundry the night before or on Thursday night, whatever, pick that time. If you say, okay, I'm going to start organizing at 8 o'clock and start cleaning at 9 o'clock, right? Stick to yourself. Whatever's done is done. Because here's the deal. I tell people you can do that, or you have another option. You can clean around the stuff. Because now people that are I was going to say ACDC, people that are OCD, right?
I know what you're saying. I can't do that. I can't clean around the stuff. I can't do it.
Okay, just keep listening. Yeah. So I tell people that, right? If you're that, I'm like, look, here's the bottom line. If you buy the book, you're buying the book because you want to take back your weekends. You want to have more time to spend with your friends, your family, and most importantly, yourself, right? If that's the whole reason, and you want the house to be clean, Now, clean is about, the crumbs and the stuff on the floor, right? Clean is not about organizing. Those are two different words, and I'm going to go there with you, I promise.
Aha.
So, yes.
We're
Yes,
having an aha moment here, Pauline.
Those are two different words. Those are
But
two completely different things.
I associate those two things together. Yeah.
Yeah. And there's the problem.
Yeah.
When we're going to get to that, I'm going to help you tackle that. So when you're out of that mode and you're like, okay, I want my house to be clean. Clean around it, Wendy. Just clean around it, because when you sit down, let's say it does take you the full 3 hours, which you probably want. That's for a big house, right? And it's, so let's say it's 11:30 or even 12 o'clock now. It's 12 o'clock Saturday. You can say and feel, my house is clean.
Mm-hmm.
Does that not give you a peace of mind?
I am, what did you call it? ACDC? OCD. So this is that would work, I think, for people that aren't OCD. The OCD person wants desperately to clean. But I have a lot of animals in my house. So the dog's toy is in the middle of the rug. The bird has thrown her toys on the floor where I have to clean up bird poop. And then I run and get the dustbuster. Everything, all of a sudden, it becomes magnified, bigger than life. And I don't know what to do next.
And I can help you with that too. Okay.
Yeah, that's why the list, I think, would work perfect for you.
Okay, so you hit the nail on the head, right? And you know what? I wasn't even I was not thinking about that when I decided to put this system down in black and white words. Okay, it's a coincidence that it happens to be the perfect book for OCD people that can't focus, because go on the website and just for the heck of it, look at the list. You just follow. I tell you how to think, what to wear, what to use, what to buy. You know what I'm saying? I leave no stone unturned, and you just follow it. So you have to stay focused. This first, that second, especially with the bulleted list when you walk into the certain rooms or whatever. Okay, so that is extremely helpful. I have dealt with a lot of I never wanted to label myself that, because there's one part of OCD that I don't follow, and that's you can't go back to your chore. So some people have accused me of being that, but I always go back to what I was doing. I just like to nip it in the bud. When something comes to me, I'll stop what I'm doing, do that, but I go back. So, but here's the thing, Wendy. It's clean. It's not perfect. There's no perfect. You're looking for perfect, my friend.
I'm a Capricorn. We look for perfect.
Yeah. You have to remind yourself there is no perfect. Let me ask you this. How would you feel if the sink was clean, the countertops were clean? Forget, let's say you have a stack of dishes up top. You don't clean around them, right? But the sink is clean. The floors are clean. The toilet bowl's clean. The shower's clean. Doesn't that make you feel better? The whole house doesn't have to be perfect. People are, if you're shooting for the stars and you get halfway there, right? Halfway there is a great place to be. You know what I mean? And I'm going to talk a little bit more about that too. But anyway.
Go ahead.
No. Ask a question, please.
No, I was just going to do a little break here where thank you everyone and for tuning in to you're watching If These Walls Could Talk with your hosts Wendy, Stuart, and Tim Moss, and our amazing and incredible guest Pauline Irene Stacey. And her book is called No Time to Clean. Listen to Pauline. And that's what we're talking about, are some of the tips that she has from her book.
And they're very they are really practical. But Pauline, if you hadn't come on the show today, and I'm really taking in what you said about clean your sink, clean your tub, clean your toilet, and ignore the things that are out of place. You know what? Oh my God, there's categories for every single one of us. That's what I'm thinking about, right? I'm the one that is focused on the out of place things, and I can't get far enough in the cleaning because I'm too focused on that. What would you call that person? Distractor.
Wendy.
A distractor. We all have,
I call them human. And for some reason, we live in a society that wants to label everything, right? We slap the label on ourselves, and then we live by that excuse. Well, I'm like this because I'm OCD, or I'm like this because what's that people that read backwards, like all the words. Dyslexic, right? So as soon as we label ourselves, then we start to feel like, oh, I have a good excuse, and we don't push ourselves anymore, right? You don't push yourself because you're like, why should I push myself? If you can't run, the bases in a baseball game if you have a messed up foot or something, But how many people do we see that break all the rules all the time, especially in sports? If nothing else, right? Olympics, like their stories, we all just think they just woke up and they can do this stuff. Yeah. You know what I mean? Right. And you hear some of their stories. So I just want to call you human. And whatever challenges you have, like take off the labels and just cut yourself a break, because we are just, especially these days with, post-pandemic or still in the pandemic, whatever people want to call it, right? It's just time. It's time to take time for you. It's time to reclaim your weekends and your time and just feel good and live in the moment for a minute, right? And one of the things, go ahead.
Oh, no, go ahead. Finish your thought. Yeah.
No, I was going to say, like, one of the things that I really realized was that, especially for the women that are in the situation where they're the ones that they work full time, they take the kids to school, they run them to all the activities during the weekend, they are the ones that clean the house, they do the cooking, It's like, when do they have time for themselves? That's where the guilt factor comes in, right? So if you decide for 30 minutes, let's just say I'm exhausted, I just want to sit here and have a snack and watch a little feel-good show for 30 minutes and something funny, right? Just to get your mind off. But you're looking around and you're like, and you can't stop thinking about cleaning. It's all about thinking about cleaning, right?
You have absolutely described me to a T. And one thing I want to emphasize, after you get done with the guilt comes the anger and the rage. I am so rageful to my husband when I walk in and I've been booked during the day and I walk into a mess all around him, piles of stuff everywhere. And I lose it. And I start, oh my God, so much psychology is coming out here today, Paul.
You know what?
I lose it.
I got something for you. I'm loving this. I'm loving this. This is all this, it's funny because some of it seems like out of the bounds of the cleaning book. But if you think about the whole point of the cleaning book is to give yourself a peace of mind and reclaim your life, right? So I'm going to keep doing that for you because when my daughter was a teenager, again, I'm kind of like, I like my stuff to be where it belongs. Because one thing I've noticed is if your stuff is where it belongs, people don't so much look at the dust, right? So you feel like it's clean if everything's organized, right? But my daughter was the typical teenager, and I would have to pass her room to get into my room, my bedroom. And so I just couldn't, Wendy, it was not a good thing, right? And so I was actually for other reasons going to counseling at the time, right? And the counselor said this to me. She says, why does it bother you? She says, is your room clean? I'm like, yes, it's spotless. Everything's where. She says, why does it bother you about your daughter's room? And I'm like, well, I don't know. What if company, and it's upstairs, so company wouldn't come upstairs. All the bedrooms were upstairs. Right? So that was my thing. What if company comes in, they see her room and they're going to think I'm a terrible mother? She said, she's her own human being.
Right.
So if you don't want to see her room, shut the door. That's my advice to you.
I'm living in a house with two shut doors. The place where my husband hangs and my daughter's room. And I'd be a liar if I didn't tell you it really gets to me. I nicknamed my daughter's room Slugville because she can lay in there with like a slug with all the stuff around her.
I know.
Nothing motivates her with all her personal shit, including her credit card, which I found yesterday down the side of her bed, which I named Slugville Canyon.
Beautiful.
That's like down the side of the bed. And I love her to death, but you know what? She's dating someone who is immaculate. She put a glass down on one of his pieces of antique furniture and it left a little ring. And right. And he told her, and she came home and she said, can you imagine? And I said, he's right. Don't you think a lot of this, and I'm throwing this into your court, has got to do with respect for the things that we have?
It does, but I will tell you this, not to make excuses for anybody, okay? If you think about the fact that there's 7 billion people on the planet, 7 billion, right? And we, for whatever reason, we live in a society where where we think that we're all supposed to be part of the masses and everybody's supposed to think the way we think and follow the rules and society regulations that we were brought up with. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And if they don't, we think badly of them. And it's not a right or wrong thing. It's just a different thing. It's just another thing. So they have their own thought processes, right? I have an ex who, when I went to his house after we had split up and I just looked around like you, clothes on the floor, bed not, I mean, it was just, and I just remember thinking like, and I realized, Wendy, they don't see it.
No, they don't. They don't.
Right.
Do.
So
it's why would it have this supersonic vision? Why, Pauline?
Why would it bother them? But I can tell you this: your daughter is never going to go back to that house and not respect his stuff.
That's true.
Right.
Because
he flipped out on her.
Because she has a reason to be motivated. She has a reason to be motivated. You being upset with her is not going to motivate her. And let me. This is way past the book, but let me help you with something else.
Yeah.
You being upset with her is not going to motivate her. So let's think about this. She goes to bed at the end of the night. She puts her head on her pillow.
Yes.
Who do you think she's thinking about? Herself.
Right.
Right. So if she's fine and she's good and she can sleep at night, why would you put your head on your pillow at the end of the night upset?
Thinking about her.
Right. Thinking about her mess.
Somebody else who's not upset about their mess.
Right. About
Does that make sense?
It does.
Like take it back, Wendy. Take your life back and think about Wendy. Does that make sense?
Yes.
It's hard to say this to people who are really struggling, but don't be so judgy about the other person and their disaster.
You're giving my husband a pass, and he's right here, Pauline.
But the thing is,
but
the thing is you do what you can do, and
it.
let them in their space and their environment be who they are. But you can clean and do whatever you want with the rest of the place.
So Wendy, shut the doors. Go to bed at night thinking about Wendy and how your space, the space that you want, that you have to see and deal and live within, is clean.
It's impeccable and clean. My space is. Absolutely.
Yeah. And so if you guys want to jump a little bit about like the hoarder thing, like I can go there. Like the book doesn't discuss any of that. But here's the beauty of the book, right? Somebody once asked me in an interview, they said, what's the one takeaway you want people to come to have from your book? And I said, well, would you believe it doesn't have anything whatsoever to do with cleaning? And they're like, wait, what? Like, what? It has to do with the fact that what I want people to get from the book is that you can turn anything into a system. Who would have thought? Tim, you mentioned it earlier, right? Nobody teaches you. Why is there no system? Why did anybody ever think of this? Like, it just didn't exist because nobody thought about it. Okay. Now we know if you can make a system to clean in no time at all and reclaim your weekends and have a peace of mind, that you can do that to anything. You can turn anything into a system. So I'm going to help you. This is very generic. And if you ever want to talk offline about getting more specific, I can do that with you. I've done hoarder houses. There's two types of hoarders. Okay. There's the one that actually has like a mental issue, right? Like they have so when you're dealing with those people, you really have to listen. You sit, you talk, you have a cup of tea, you listen to them, you make them feel comfortable with you. You care about their feelings because most of the people, like their family, won't come visit them. Friends won't come there. So you go from hoarder to hermit, right? Like, I
love it. Hoarder to hermit. Yeah.
Right. Nobody wants to even come and see you because they're so frustrated. And again, so, you have to listen to them, spend time with them and understand where they're coming from. But then we got the other type of hoarder who it's not so much a mental issue as it is, for lack of a better term, lazy, right?
Yes, he's right over here. I have Exhibit A right across. Impeccable when it comes to lighting, his cameras, he's a photographer, all of that, unbelievable meticulous.
There you go.
Everything else, everything is everywhere. He used to come back from location shoots, and this is true. He'd walk to the back of his studio, throw the suitcase with all his clothes in it, and that would be it. He was done. If somebody else didn't come along, and it was unbelievable to me, right? Unthinkable, would not unpack his, but that's extreme laziness.
Yes. And so those people are really easy to deal with.
Okay.
Really easy. So I'm going to give you I know you deal with a lot of people deal with the concept of magic numbers. We know like 1, 5, 3, 7, like these are all kind of like got something going on behind them. I'm going to talk to you about the magic number of 3. Okay. So let's go to the point where let's just, not to pick on your husband, but it's a really good example.
He's
His
a
room.
wonderful person, but we'll use it as
room. Okay. So we're going to go there, and we've decided, he's just not into putting stuff back where it belongs, kind of a thing, right? Okay. So again, just take away all the judgment. You look at it and it's overwhelming. So here's what happens, right? People that are, I don't want to use the word lazy, but people that don't want to put stuff away all the time.
Not motivated to put stuff away.
Yeah, exactly, right? So it's just
again, or possibly never were taught how. So it could be a psychological thing. They just never were taught how to do it.
Exactly.
But Tim, he tells me he doesn't see it. I didn't think it had anything. He just doesn't. It's as if his brain processes the things he sees. You know what? We need a neurologist on here too today.
Yes.
No, there is a lot of psychology to what we're discussing.
Right.
Yes.
Exactly.
And everybody's different.
Sorry, Pauline, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, but Wendy, you hit the nail on the head, because you said he doesn't see it, because you know what he is using his energy and his focus on? His craft. You said it. It's perfect. It's meticulous. That's where his focus.
To marry you, Pauline. What's you?
That's where his focus is. And I'm sorry to say this, but you have to respect that part of him, because that's what's perfect. That's what's, I know, I'm sorry. That's what makes him who he is.
Right.
You like your space clean. As long as you guys can make a deal, what he will respect. The same thing with your daughter. This is my kitchen. This is my bathroom. This is my living room, whatever, right? Like, let's respect my space. You guys can clean your door. Close your door, and I won't talk to you about it anymore. Right. But please respect my spot.
Right.
My space, right? And just imagine how that would feel. Like the energy in your house would just completely shift. Does that make sense?
It does.
Yeah.
I got my work cut out for me, Pauline. My God. Cut out for me.
She's going to be like, that was the least favorite guest I've ever had on my show.
No, this has been a good therapy session. It's wonderful.
Great. Tim and I love good therapy sessions, and I love people that come on and talk about real stuff.
Yes.
Deal with,
Yeah,
that's why I wanted to share the book so bad, because
I want to go back to hoarding. I have a wonderful friend who.
Well, just one second. Just 1 second, because we'll definitely get there. But thank you, everyone, for tuning in. You're watching If These Walls Could Talk with your hosts, Wendy, Stuart, and Tim Moss, and our amazing and incredible guest, Pauline Irene Stacey. Yay! Who wrote the book No Time to Clean? Listen to Pauline. I love that title. And we were just discussing hoarding. So, go ahead, Wendy.
So a friend of mine moved his elderly mother into his house. And she had been a brilliant woman. She was a researcher, like a physics researcher, brilliant person, right? And he noticed when she moved in with him, starting to see the hoarding behavior in his beautiful house, right? And within like a year or two, it got bad, but nowhere near as bad when they went back to her apartment, which she had still kept. The kids didn't know what to do with it. They ended up having to hire, when she passed, a bunch of people to clean it out. So what do you do how does one handle, this is with a loved mother. How do you handle that?
So, well, going back to the two different types of hoarders, right? One where they just have a lot of stuff because they just didn't put it away. So it starts with like you said, it's not important to them putting their stuff away. It's just not a thing. So it kind of starts to build up a little bit. And then when people start noticing it and talking about it, and you start taking it seriously, Most of the time when it gets to that point, it's overwhelming. And that's the same thing with house cleaning. If you don't do weekly house cleaning, which is one of the reasons why I wanted to teach the system, that it's really quick and easy it's not overwhelming anymore. So the same thing as with the hoarding is with the cleaning. If you don't clean and you don't clean and you don't clean it, then you're just overwhelmed. So what happens when you're overwhelmed? Are you ever going to do the job you're overwhelmed about?
Nope.
You're just exactly right. You can't breathe. You don't want to talk about it. That's what happens to people. They don't want to talk about it. And not only is it the people that have to look at it that become angry, but believe it or not, they're angry too. They just don't show it. They're angry on the inside and they don't want to show it because they don't know how to express it. They don't know what to do about it. So for someone in that situation, I'm going to go back to the magic number of 3. Okay. And here's how you do it. You start off now. I can get into more specifics about if you ever wanted me, I can do that for you. Right? But it's just, let's just take a general situation where it's somebody at home and they're, you maybe like your husband's room. Let's pick on him for a little bit because we stood up for him a lot. So now we got to eat.
Now we're going to knock him down.
So there's just stuff everywhere. And a lot of times what happens is the stuff is in boxes or there's so much stuff, it's piled up behind and on top and underneath. Yeah. So you don't even know what you have. Okay. Right. So here's the thing. This also happens with cleaning. One of the reasons why you don't even want to start tackling it is because it takes up so much room in your thinking box, right? It's like, okay, I have this book. What do I want to do with this book? Do I want to keep it? Oh, well, you know what? You know why people keep everything? It's easy. You don't have to think about it. Just say, keep it. I'm just going to keep it. You probably haven't touched it in 30 years, but you just keep it. Wendy, don't we do that to our clothes?
Oh my God. But you know what? I have to say, in my case, I use all of it for performing, for shows I create, for characters. Right. So I have a collection that I have no interest in getting rid of.
Yeah.
I mean, like we're talking like 35 years of clothes kept impeccably.
You've got a different scenario going there.
Right. But, and I was just going to say, and also in a New York City apartment, because there are times where I question, am I like beginning a hoarding thing or something? But I've lived here for 40 years in this apartment. And New York City apartments are compact. And so I've accumulated over the years, but then it gets to the point, and then so I start purging. I'll throw something out. 2 weeks later, I was like, where was that? Oh, shit, I threw it out.
Yeah. But did you feel like you
20 years.
After you did that, did you feel like you needed it?
No, I lived without it. Look at me.
Without it.
Here we go. So you're jumping ahead a little bit of me, right?
But you're here with Wendy and Tim. That's what we do.
You guys have like the crystal ball. We know where she's going with this topic. Yeah. So what happens is that we have to make a decision about each item. And that takes time. And that takes energy. And some people don't want to have to think that hard. Do I want this? Do I want to give it away? That's the same thing when we're cleaning the house aimlessly with no system, right? Why does it take so long? Well, we start here. Well, what am I going to do next? Oh, let me go do the laundry. Oh, what am I going to do next? Then you stand and you kind of look around. Oh, let me dust this little shelf. And you're just like, you're just thinking and it's taking time. Where here's the deal. So you have in your mind 3 mental piles. One is I'm keeping. One is I'm giving away. Now, some people like to do yard sales. I'm a person, and I respect that, whatever. I'm a person that I think 2 things to myself. I don't want to make that much work for myself. The whole reason is I'm trying to stress-free, right? But I like the concept of just putting stuff back out in the universe, whatever it is. What's that expression? One man's treasure is another man's treasure.
Right. One man's throwaway is another man's treasure. I apply by that.
Put stuff back out in the universe. So whether you bring it to a church, a thrift store, and most thrift stores are non-for-profit. They're helping, other organizational entities. So however you want to donate the stuff, you donate it. And then the third pile is throw away, is trash.
Yep.
So you've got what am I keeping, what am I donating, and what is trash. So if you wanted to have the family come in and look at the piles, hey, this is trash, it's going in the garbage or whatever. Because some people do. I've worked for very wealthy women that had amazing shoes and clothes and purses and whatever. So they had family members that they're like, oh, I don't want to give that to the thrift store. So I'm like, okay, you tell them come Saturday at 10 o'clock, you got 3 hours to be. And if you're not, too bad, feel sad. You know what I'm saying? But you have to be, hard on yourself and stick to the guidelines. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So here's the thing. Remember going back to the thinking, what am I going to do with this? What am I going to do? If you only have 3 piles to put it in, it's easy. 1, 2, or 3. Now, I'm not going to say some people will still sit there and go, I don't know what pile to put. Pick a pile, any pile, pick a pile. Because if you don't pick a pile, I'm putting it in the trash pile, right?
Yeah. You better pick a pile, make a decision.
Make a decision. And it's very helpful if you can explain to people the donation pile and the concept of putting it back out there in the universe. And definitely if you're donating it to places that are working for nonprofits that are helping, the money that the stores make, they donate back to different causes, right? Mm-hmm. If people feel like their donation stuff is not just going in the trash, that's a big deal, because a lot of the reason why we don't want to get like what's one of the biggest things? I just heard this yesterday, VHS tapes. This guy had his boxes and boxes of collections. He's like, but it's VHS and it's all movies that we love. I'm like, okay, donate it, give it away, But you, Wendy, brought up a great point when you asked him, how did you feel after? Because that's what I asked the guy. He said, I decided to throw it all away. So I said, okay, let me ask you this question. Once you close the garbage can and the box was inside, he tormented months and actually it was years, right? That he was like looking and he couldn't bring himself to separate himself from this stuff. I said, how did you feel the second you closed the garbage can? And he's like, I felt great. I'm like, the second you actually put the cover down, right? You just asked him, did you miss it? Well, no, life still went on. You know what I mean?
Right.
And most of the time we don't even think about it, but that has happened to me, Tim. So I will tell you that has happened to me, where something I kept for 20 years and then I threw it away. I swear to God, 2 days later, it's been here for 20 years.
One of the things that I am trying to get myself to do, I'm trying to get myself in the habit of doing, because I'm very good with once a week. Because one thing I do not like is starting the cleaning, the laundry process. Because what I usually do is I live in an apartment building, so I take my laundry downstairs to start the wash. Yes. I come back upstairs and I sweep and dust and clean and do all of that. Go back down, put it in the dryer, come back up. So I have a little system that I do all at one time.
And remember what I was saying at the beginning, right? It's like if that system works for you, mix it with the book, read the book, still read the book, right? Exactly. But if that system works for you, that's awesome. Because I think I would do the same thing. I can't lie. If I had to go someplace to do laundry, we're always trying to figure out how to maximize our time, right? So I would probably do the same thing.
It all at one time.
And you'll know, like, let's say, so one part, I'll give you a little sneak peek, okay? So chapter 6, the first chapter that actually talks about cleaning. Remember we talked about the separation of chores, right? So that talks just about dusting. So in this chapter, it teaches you how to do just the dusting. So we're literally walking around the house. The book actually has a map in it to tell you where to start. I'm telling you, I've left no stone unturned. Every detail is covered. So you walk around the house and everything you're always thinking about is a circle, because the mental image is that you're working the dust and the dirt out of the house, towards the front door. So that map is in there, right? But so you go in the room and everything is from top to bottom. Mm-hmm. Makes sense, right? You don't want to start the shelf. Exactly. Now you're dusting that shelf. So you always work in top to bottom. I even do the picture frames. People never do picture frames unless they're doing like spring cleaning or fall cleaning or moving. You know what I mean? But when you keep it up, it's easy. It's just like, and I have a little trick in there. I like to call them tricks instead of tips, because tricks are fun. Tips are like,
it's like, I like a trick
all day long. But I even have a really cool little trick for that. So you have to read the book for that. But anyway, so you get all the dust. So then you go to the next room. So where I'm going with this, Tim, is maybe when you get the system down, you could say, okay, it takes me X amount of minutes to do all of the dusting in the house. That's the amount of time that it takes the laundry to be done.
Right.
Does that make sense? So then I'll go get the laundry.
I have it all timed. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Tim's very organized that way.
Right.
But one thing. I was
No,
just going to say one thing that I do not like is starting it, but one thing that I absolutely love is walking in later and the apartment is clean and the laundry is done and the laundry's put away.
It's the big
that is the impetus, right?
So that's the goal.
The
Yes.
feeling of, and so that's what used to help make me start. You do not think, have no thoughts about, oh my God, I have to clean. Like those thoughts don't exist. It's like, I'm going to feel fantastic in a couple of hours. Like that motivates you so much, right? Of how you're going to feel. So if you get rid of the negative thought about, I hate starting, I don't want to start, where should I start? All that stuff, eliminate that and start with the final desired outcome, which is the clean. It's clean. And that's why we were talking about, Wendy, about moving around stuff. Who cares if you didn't get that little spot in the corner because a toy was there? That toy might not be there next week, and maybe you'll get that spot vacuumed next week.
That's
you get what I'm saying?
Look at it, right? It might not be there next week, and I can
and so
I just need to park that as a thought. My question to you, I want to talk a little about devices. All right, I love the robot vacuum. No, it doesn't do corners, but if you're smart with a robot, because it's Tim, do you have a robot vacuum?
No, I don't.
Okay, if you can clear a space, it picks up dirt like better than the regular vacuum. But it doesn't do corners. So I always do the corners myself, and then I put the robot on. It is unbelievable. How do you feel about robot vacuums?
I have one, and I think they're fantastic. But let me say, again, I'm kind of like you, right? Corners is everything. When you have a cleaning business, you can have a house that is spotless beyond explanation, and one little dust speck in the corner you're fired. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So you really, really have to think about
that doesn't happen up in New York. Everybody I know that has someone clean for them complains about the dust and debris in the corners, and they have conversations about nobody cleans corners anymore. Well, I do.
I would fire that person quickly. But anyway, so that, Wendy, leads to the subject of like little tips about how to keep up during the week. So I agree with you wholeheartedly. Fortunately, the corners that mine doesn't get to are the corners where it doesn't fit into, because mine has the really long brushes that twirl. Oh yeah. So it's long enough where it gets, but sometimes the vacuum doesn't fit into that spot. So this is the floor and that's the bottom. And so if the vacuum doesn't go, then that will happen. So, in the book, I actually make suggestions on what type, not the brands. I don't talk about brands. I'll tell you about that in a second. But what type of equipment to buy and what type of products. And again, staying away from brands. What I've done is I again, trying to tell people this is about you. So do what you like. I don't make suggestions because I want people to experiment, talk to friends and family and see what they like to use. And then maybe share it with us, right? On my blog or whatever. But I have what's called Pauline's Pearls. And so they come out every once in a while, sporadically. And so you get to see those if you follow me on Facebook and Instagram. And they make product recommendations.
I love it.
Yeah. And I don't just say, oh, use this, it rocks. Like, you're going to read why it rocks. You know what I mean? So going back to the equipment, I will tell you exactly what type of equipment to buy. And it's all stuff that makes life easy. And so when you were talking about, Wendy, about the corners, right? One of the pieces of equipment I recommend is just the floor sweepers, right? The electric, whether it's battery operated or has a wire, whatever, but just they're lightweight. They're a couple bucks, like $40, $50. You can buy them anywhere. And that's how
Dustbusters. I love Dustbusters.
There you go.
They're fabulous. And I have a parrot. Anybody with a bird?
Oh, yes.
My bird is loose. They throw seed. She's very cool. She goes on the newspaper, but her seed is flung everywhere.
Yes, right. Some guys I know. Sorry. I'm so
sorry you had to experience that, Tim.
Come back to us, Tim. Come back to us.
The Dustbuster made you have that thought, Tim Moss. Tim has dirty thoughts. Sorry. We're talking about clean, though. The Dustbuster will just clean out those. but you need the more powerful ones. I've had, the less expensive ones and more. You're right. The ones you spend like 50 on upward for are the best. And
But Wendy,
I'm going to call out a brand. It is Black & Decker. I've had the other company ones. Black & Decker makes the best cordless dustbuster, hands down.
So we're right back to square one, right? It works for you.
Right.
Yes.
You get what I'm saying? That's the whole point, is that it works for you. So there are things that we can do, and that's the kind of stuff I like to put on Instagram and Facebook, right? To keep following. But there are things that we could do during the week to kind of help the process. But I want to share two things with you before we go. I know our time's almost up. But one, when we started, you talked about your feathers, right? And so one of my great tricks in the book is about a feather duster. So go on Amazon for $8, right? This is ostrich feather. So one of the most frustrating parts of cleaning to me is the hair on the bathroom countertop. Whether you have long hair, shaving hair, pet hair, whatever it is. Yeah. So our instinct is what? We push the stuff on the shelf a little bit, right, on the counter. We push it over, then we spray it with something, and then we start cleaning. And all you're doing is moving the hair from point A to point B, from point A to point B. Right? So in order to get rid of it, you got to keep rinsing your sponge and rinsing your sponge. Right. And it's like,
really get rid of it.
It's so time consuming. Well, if you take the feather duster when it's dry before you spray it, and you just wipe off a couple swipes, right? Let it fall to the ground, because you're going to get that when pick that up when you vacuum, right?
Or the robot get it.
Bam. But you just push it off the counter. Now you have a dry, clean, or clear countertop to work with. I cannot tell you how many minutes that saved. I learned that saved me.
And frustration.
Yeah, well, that was the biggest one.
Saves frustration.
Are you kidding me? It's like,
oh my God.
But one of the things I wanted to talk about with the book is that my book, I don't know if you guys picked up on this or not, but it has what's called augmented reality. Are you familiar with that at all?
I wrote that down. I wanted you to talk about augmented reality really quick.
So I am the 15th person in the world that has augmented reality in her book. I was fortunate enough to team up. My co-publisher is called Hasmark Publishing. They're the first publishing company in the world to have augmented reality in their books. Wow. So what that is we have what's called the marker. Mine happens to be the oyster with the pearl in it. And anywhere you see the marker in the book, you put the app, you have to download the app, you point it towards the marker, and the video pops up.
Nice.
And so you can see me. I'm actually, the feather duster thing is actually one of the things. You'll actually see me brushing off the counter, and how you see how it works. I actually put hair on there, whatever, and some other things. There's a few on there. So you get to see a live video of what, of needs, doing stuff.
That's fabulous.
Yeah. So that's what augmented reality is. It's very exciting.
I want to give a shout out to everybody who came on today.
Right. Firstly, you're watching If These Walls Could Talk with your hosts, Wendy, Stuart, and Tim Moss, our amazing and incredibly instructive friend and guest, Pauline Irene Stacey. Yay!
Okay.
Now,
Jenny,
tell us about some
water. Kids hide stuff under their beds. Well, I did. Good point.
Jenny I grew up with Jenny in Indiana.
Oh, you did? Well, she checked in. Joe Preston, hoarding is insecurity. Absolutely. Twyla Childress, love your hat, Wendy. Thank you, Twyla. Teresa Sabin, great show. She's amazing. She comes on every week. Joey Infante said, I agree with Tim. Start the laundry and go for the rest. See, Joey's sensible. I just get crazy. I can spend an hour or two shining an object till it's totally clean. I'm a cleaning fanatic. See, all people's psychological things come out here, Pauline. I have 4 rooms and I take one at a time and deal with that. Joey, love the show, and I need to be scrolling. Tim, can you see any of these comments? Great.
Yes.
Let's see if
Richard Skipper said Happy Wednesday.
Happy Wednesday.
Right. Let me see. Jenny Bookwalter, she also said raised by tidy little Midwestern mothers who ironed everything.
That's a good point.
That was another thing. Yeah, I remember my mother used to iron a lot. and I never do. I don't like hibernation.
Real quick, Pauline, you studied environmental science.
Yes.
Science. Real quick, how does that hook into cleaning?
I have a master's degree in environmental management.
Wow.
So it's a spin-off. It's an MBA, but it's studying the environment. So
I totally love
yeah.
it.
And so again, you heard me talk a little bit about how that studying the management, because everybody thinks that management is about making money, and really management is about how to manage people to make money, right? And so that's what really helped me, learning about a system and understanding how you can make production quicker and faster and better. So that's how it helped with the book. The environmental part, and people have asked me about, I stay away from the concept in this book about what they call green cleaning. There's so many products, there's so many controversy and stuff.
I know a lot of people that are green cleaners.
Yeah.
I am going to make a true confession here. I love the smell of toxic cleaners. Give me your pine salt. Pine salt. I am so happy. And I can go right down the list of all the things that are there's another one, Fabuloso. Oh,
yes. That's the brain
Toxic.
Connection, right? The smelling, makes you think because it smells strong.
My brain?
Clean and cleansing.
My brain.
It makes you feel, right? The smell of it, oratory part makes you feel like it's clean because it's like mouthwash, right? Remember old-fashioned Listerine?
But now, interesting that you environmental management, and because I think of that as far as environment, the climate, the ecosystems, all of that. But in a way, what you're doing, what we have talked about this past hour, is managing your environment, your immediate environment, your home right around you.
100% correct.
Yeah.
And
so it's interesting how you have applied that to the home, to the house.
Yeah, and you have really brought to people a sense of control.
Yeah.
Okay, because the environment, that is hard. We can do our best, but that's out there. You brought not only peace of mind, but a sense of control, which is fabulous.
Absolutely.
Yes, I agree 100%. And one of the other things I deal with the environment is I work with the Everglades Coalition. And in South Florida, 8 million of us rely on the Everglades for good, clean drinking water. Wow. People just think it's about saving alligators. We have plenty. We don't need to save the alligators. Because all of our tourism, everything in Florida is about swimming and snorkeling and diving and fishing. Right. So if the water's not clean, and we don't, and forget it if you don't care about the economy. We have no economy with dirty water. There's no economy in Florida. The state will literally shut down, right? But if you just care about what you drink and what you bathe your kids in, so I work very closely with the legislators. Yeah, and try to convince them why we need this and what we need it for.
Absolutely.
Yeah. You have had your work cut out for you in that area. That's all I can tell you. Bless you.
That's wonderful work. Wonderful work that you're doing.
Right. Thank you.
Well,
guys.
Again, and in conclusion, Pauline, where can people find out about you?
So everything you can find out about is on the website, PaulineIreneStacey.com.
And
I would love it. Yep, with me. Yep, I would love it if people would go on. I'm looking for some good cleaning stories, the good, the bad, the ugly. I would love to start posting them on my blog. I think it's important for all of us to share with each other, maybe learn and tell some funny stories. So I would love it if people went on the website and even if for nothing else, to give me some good cleaning stories.
Well, one thing I started to say earlier and then I got distracted in other areas was one thing that I am trying to train myself to do right now. Is in addition to I've got the cleaning and laundry and all of that down pretty well, but is going through piles, because again, being in a New York City apartment as an entertainer and costumes and this and that and clothes and all of that, is I'm trying to take 1 hour a week and just sit at one spot and clean and organize that, and then next week I'll take another spot and just work on that for 1 hour. That's great, right?
100% perfect. Because first of all, it's a system. Any kind of a plan to me is a system, right?
Yeah.
The other thing is that what I try to tell people when they're dealing with the hoarder situations is you can't look at the big picture.
Right.
That's what overwhelms everybody is the big
Absolutely.
picture.
So
You
does.
just got to take a bite out of the slice,
Over here.
right?
Yep.
So you and you know, if you did it 1 hour a week, there's 4 weeks in a month, right? So
Right.
there's 4 hours. Then the year goes by. You get what I'm saying? And
You gotta
so
think of it,
You got a
right?
whole new place.
you know what I'm saying? Yeah, and it's done. And it's not overwhelming in your mind. So if you say to
Right.
yourself,
Right.
I'm just going to do this for an hour and literally stick to it, whatever's going on, set a timer. And if you're in the middle of holding something, when the timer goes off, drop it. Just stick
Yep.
to it. You're
Alan,
going
you
to
look at the man cave. That's what we're going to do in there. 1 hour, shaking his head no.
bam.
Have
There
you
you
not
go.
heard anything that Pauline said?
Just shut the door, Wendy. Shut the door, Wendy.
Door.
The door, Wendy. Forget about it. These have been like terrific tips.
Oh.
Tim, I love your tip rolled in today too. You know. Okay. Happy Halloween. Thank you,
Thank
Pauline.
you guys so much for having me.
You are
Pauline
terrific.
Irene Stacey, thank you so very much. We had
My
a wonderful
pleasure.
time, and I loved
Thank
all
you.
of your suggestions. And please get the
helpful.
book. No Time to Clean. Listen to Pauline.
It makes it, you know, look how little it is. It makes a great stocking stuffer.
I love it.
Right?
Absolutely.
And we are listening to you, by the way.
Good. Send me some stories.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you
Good
so much. I
afternoon, everybody.
appreciate
Have a
everything.
good one.
Thank you. Thank you.